Welcome back to the dark side of reality, where truth is more terrifying than fiction, and every story leaves a scar. You're not just watching a crime story tonight. You're stepping into a world where one mistake can cost a lifetime. Subscribe, like, and comment if you're brave enough to face the truth behind concrete walls. Because once the story begins, there's no turning back. The night the city held its breath. The sirens cut through the night like blades, sharp and unforgiving. Red and blue lights bounced off rain-soaked asphalt as a black sedan tore through an empty industrial district, its tires screaming every time the driver clipped a corner too fast. The car had no plates. Its windows were tinted dark enough to hide the panic inside. Behind it, 3 police cruisers closed in, engines roaring, radios crackling with urgency. The city was quiet, but this stretch of road had turned into a battlefield of speed and desperation. The sedan swerved, smashed through a chain-link fence, and skidded into an abandoned shipping yard. Its engine coughed once, then died. The driver didn't wait. He burst out of the door and ran, vanishing into a maze of rusted containers and shadows. Moments later, officers surrounded the car with guns drawn. Inside, they found something that changed the tone of the chase instantly. On the back seat lay a young woman, barely conscious, wrists bruised, eyes wide with terror. Blood stained the collar of her jacket, not all of it hers. Her name was Emily Carter, 24 years old. A law student who had vanished 6 hours earlier after leaving a downtown cafe. The city would soon learn that this was not a random act of violence. It was the opening chapter of something far darker. Detective Marcus Hale arrived as the paramedics rushed Emily into an ambulance. He studied the scene with quiet intensity, his coat already soaked from the rain. Hale had worked homicide for 15 years. He knew the look of chaos, and he knew when chaos was hiding a pattern. "What do we have?" he asked. "A suspect on foot. Female victim found in the vehicle. Signs of assault. Possible kidnapping," an officer replied. Hale's eyes moved to the open driver's door. The ground nearby was muddy, marked with deep shoe impressions. The suspect had fled in a hurry, but not without purpose. Inside the car, officers found a burner phone, smashed beyond use, and a folded piece of paper shoved into the cup holder. An address. Handwritten. Just 5 miles away. Emily was barely able to speak before the ambulance doors closed. But she whispered 3 words that froze the paramedic's hands. "He knew me." That single sentence shifted everything. This wasn't a random predator. This was personal. By morning, news helicopters hovered over the city. Social media buzzed with theories and fear. Parents pulled their children closer. College campuses tightened security. The idea that someone could vanish from a crowded street and end up fighting for their life inside a stranger's car unsettled everyone. At the hospital, Emily drifted in and out of consciousness. Between shallow breaths, she tried to explain. The man had approached her outside the cafe. He wore a familiar smile. He used her name. He said he needed help. She followed him, just for a moment, just to be polite. That moment had almost killed her. Detective Hale and his partner, Sophia Ramirez, traced Emily's phone records. The last call before her disappearance came from an unregistered number. A burner. The same type found in the car. The handwritten address led them to a vacant townhouse on the edge of the city. The kind of place no one noticed, no one questioned. When they arrived, the front door was already open. Inside, the air was heavy with chemical cleaners and silence. The living room was bare except for a metal chair bolted to the floor. There were marks on the arms of it. Scratches. Dried blood in the seams. Ramirez covered her mouth. Hale felt his stomach tighten. "This wasn't just a crime," she whispered. "This was preparation." In an upstairs bedroom, they found photographs scattered across the floor. Dozens of them. All different women. Different ages. Different backgrounds. Some smiling in casual settings. Some taken secretly from a distance. Emily was in several of the photos. And so was another woman. Her face was circled in red ink. Next to it, one word was written. Hale realized something chilling in that moment. Emily wasn't the first, and she wasn't meant to be the last. The suspect wasn't running randomly through the city. He was following a plan that had been building for a long time. As officers secured the house, a call came through on Hale's radio. The suspect had been spotted near the river, abandoning his jacket, blending into the early morning crowd. They were hunting a man who didn't just want to escape. He wanted to continue. But it was what they found in the basement that turned the investigation into a nightmare. Behind a locked steel door, hidden beneath layers of dust and denial, waited the truth that would rewrite everything they thought they knew about this case. The weight of the walls. The basement smelled like metal and old water. Detective Hale moved slowly, his flashlight cutting thin lines through the darkness. The steel door they had forced open behind them now felt like a boundary between two worlds. Above it was a city still pretending to be normal. Below it was the truth. The room was small, windowless, and soundproofed with thick foam panels nailed to the concrete. Chains hung from iron hooks in the ceiling. A drain sat in the center of the floor, rusted and stained. On one wall, someone had scratched tally marks into the paint. Some were faded. Some were fresh. Hale counted silently. 27. Not all of them ended in rescue. Ramirez swallowed hard. This wasn't a hideout, she said. This was a system. If this story already has your heart racing, don't just watch in silence. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment right now. Tell us what you think those tally marks really mean, because your theory might be closer to the truth than you realize. Forensic teams worked through the night. Fibers, fingerprints, DNA. Every inch of the basement was a confession waiting to be decoded. What terrified Hale wasn't just what had happened here. It was how carefully it had been designed. Whoever built this place had patience, discipline, and time. The photos upstairs were only the beginning. Inside a hidden wall compartment, officers found a ledger. No names. Just dates, locations, and initials. Some entries were marked with a single line. Others had two. Hale stared at it. One line means they survived. Two means they didn't. Ramirez looked away. At the hospital, Emily's condition stabilized. When Hale finally spoke to her again, her eyes filled with tears before she said a word. "He acted like a hero," she whispered. "He said someone was following me. He said he was trying to protect me." The lie had been flawless. The kind only practiced manipulators could deliver. She described his voice, his hands, the way he never raised his tone. Controlled. Like he was already used to obedience. Back at the precinct, analysts ran facial recognition on the photographs. One match appeared again and again. A man named Daniel Cross. 36 years old. Former construction contractor. No violent criminal record. Minor charges. Trespassing. Illegal dumping. Small things. Invisible things. He had helped build half the abandoned structures in the district. He hadn't been hiding from the city. He had been shaping it. If you're realizing how deep this story goes, now's the moment to hit subscribe. True crime like this isn't just entertainment, it's a window into how real monsters blend into everyday life. Like the video so more people see this, and comment if you think Cross was working alone or if someone was helping him. Police raided Cross's registered address. It was spotless. Too spotless. Empty walls. No furniture. No photos. No personality. A place that existed only on paper. Ramirez found a receipt hidden inside a vent. Storage unit rental. Paid in cash. 3 months in advance. The storage facility was on the outskirts of town, surrounded by fog and broken streetlights. Officers approached with weapons drawn, hearts pounding against body armor. Unit 417 was locked with a heavy industrial padlock. Inside, they found more chairs. More restraints. More evidence of preparation. But they also found something worse. Suitcases. Inside each were clothes neatly folded. Jewelry. Wallets. IDs. Lives archived like trophies. One ID belonged to a woman who had been missing for 4 years. Her case had gone cold. Her family had been told to prepare for the worst. Now her memory sat inside a plastic bin, tagged and catalogued by the man who took her. Hale felt a sickness rise in his chest. This wasn't just about crime anymore. It was about control. About ownership. about turning human beings into objects. Then the radio crackled. Daniel Cross had been spotted at the city courthouse, blending into a crowd of early morning jurors. He wasn't running. He was walking straight into a building full of potential victims, protected only by the illusion of safety. If this moment just made your pulse jump, tap that like button and subscribe now. Stories like this hit harder when you're part of a community that refuses to ignore the darkness. And in the comments, tell us this: do you think Cross wanted to be caught, or was this his next move in a much bigger plan? Squad cars screamed toward the courthouse. Hale's mind raced. A man who planned this carefully wouldn't walk into a public place without a reason. Either he was desperate, or he was confident. Both were terrifying. As officers stormed the building, Cross was already inside, seated calmly on a bench, hands folded, eyes scanning the room like a hunter in a forest of unaware prey. And in his pocket was a folded piece of paper. Another address. The sentence that never ends. The paper in Cross's pocket led them to a warehouse by the docks, a place swallowed by fog and forgotten by the city. It wasn't listed in any database. No ownership records. No utility bills. Just concrete, steel, and silence. The kind of place that existed for one purpose only. Hale stood behind the tactical unit as the door was breached. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Inside, the lights were already on. That was the first sign something was wrong. Cross was waiting. He stood in the center of the room, hands raised, calm as if he had been expecting guests. Behind him were 3 makeshift cells built from welded steel bars. 2 were empty. 1 was not. A young woman crouched in the corner, shaking, her hands bound, her face streaked with dirt and fear. The arrest was clean. No struggle. No resistance. As cuffs snapped around his wrists, Cross exhaled slowly, almost relieved. "About time," he said. "If this moment just hit you, don't stay silent. Like this video, subscribe right now, and comment what you think Cross meant by that. Because this wasn't the relief of a man caught. It was the relief of a man who had finished something. The rescued woman was rushed out. Paramedics wrapped her in a blanket as she sobbed, whispering thank you over and over. Hale watched her disappear into safety, knowing it was the closest thing to victory they were going to get. In interrogation, Cross didn't deny anything. He didn't brag. He didn't rage. He spoke like a man explaining a routine. "People think prison is punishment," he said quietly. "But for men like me, it's just a different room." Hale felt his jaw tighten. "You destroyed lives." "No," Cross replied. "I revealed how fragile they were." The trial was fast. The evidence was overwhelming. Photos, DNA, the ledger, the storage unit, survivor testimonies. The jury never left the room for more than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life without parole. The courtroom exhaled like it had been holding its breath for years. Families cried. Survivors hugged. Reporters rushed to file headlines that would fade within days. Justice had been served, at least on paper. But paper had never stopped men like Cross. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button now. This channel isn't just about crime. It's about exposing the truth behind concrete walls. Like the video so this story reaches more people, and comment if you think life without parole is enough for someone who took so much. Prison swallowed Cross whole. Steel doors. Concrete floors. A number instead of a name. From the outside, it looked like an ending. From the inside, it was a beginning. He adapted faster than anyone expected. Learned routines. Learned guards' habits. Learned which inmates held influence and which were desperate for it. Power changed shape in prison, but it never disappeared. Within months, whispers followed him. Not of fear. Of curiosity. Some inmates wanted to know how he stayed so calm. Some wanted his approval. Some wanted his story. Cross gave them pieces. Not the truth. Just enough to make himself important. Hale visited once. He stood behind the glass as Cross smiled faintly. "You look disappointed," Cross said. "You're exactly where you belong." Cross tilted his head. "Belonging is a matter of perspective. Out there, I hunt it. In here, I teach." That word stayed with Hale. Weeks later, A guard was attacked in the East Wing. Another inmate was found with deep marks on his wrists, mirroring the restraints from Cross's basement. The official report called it inmate violence. But Hale knew better. The pattern was repeating, just with different hands. If this realization gave you chills, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stories like this don't end when the cuffs go on. And in the comments, answer this. Can evil really be locked away, or does it just change location? The prison tightened security around Cross. Solitary confinement. No visitors. No communication. 3 months passed. Then a maintenance worker found something etched into the concrete wall of Cross's cell. Almost invisible. 2 tally marks. Not 1. 2. Hale stared at the photo in his office long after the report was closed. The city believed the danger was over. The headlines said the monster was behind bars. But monsters didn't disappear. They adapted. The real cost of crime was never just prison time. It was the way fear spread. The way damage multiplied. The way one man's darkness could infect 100 others. They thought the killer was contained. But somewhere behind concrete walls, his influence was just beginning.